Hi, today I'm going to be taking a look at Avengers 313 from 1990. This is part of the Acts of Vengeance crossover event, which had a whole bunch of villains teaming up to throw villains at heroes that they wouldn't normally fight in order to defeat them. It was a pretty long crossover event, but it was a lot of fun. And this issue, I remember this being chock-a-block full of great Marvel heroes and villains. A lot of fun. So 1990, at this point, these handheld games with these little LCD black graphics and stuff that just pop up and stuff. This is really big at the time. This is the Konami version of that kind of thing. Most popularized with Game & Watch from Nintendo. I didn't have any of these Konami ones, but I knew these were like really popular in like Ninja Turtles and stuff. It's funny if you think back to those things, are very very primitive. But I remember I had actually I did have a Simon's Quest version, like a Castlevania 2 watch that did the same thing. And I was totally into it. It had boss fights, it had side scrolling, but the only thing was a little black LCD graphics would just pop up and just like sort of animate the ground moving as you walked. It was really primitive, but you got into it and it was a lot of fun. So the Avengers are dealing with a whole bunch of public discontent with their activities. A bunch of mutants destroyed Avengers Park, and a whole bunch of protesters are protesting. Jarvis is like, get back here, but the Avengers are off doing their own thing at Aquabase. This is Vision, as I remember him mostly from when I was reading Avengers at this time. At this point, all his memories were wiped out, and so he had no color in his system, so he's completely white. I had a PVC figure of this guy. This is the Vision I remember most. And of course, he turned up towards the end of WandaVision. Spoilers. And of course, the real Hawkeye. Here's a 2-page spread for Taito. I never had Sky Shark. There's a lot of text here to read for these things. It's not very splashy, but it's pretty funny that they wrote so much for, like, this is Sky Shark, blah blah blah, 3 paragraphs. They also mentioned Bubble Bobble, Operation Wolf. Operation Wolf, I never had, but I did rent a lot. This to me was a joystick game, because it was basically a little jeep that drove around shooting guys and stuff. It was pretty cool. And this is the Mandarin as I remember him. This is the real Mandarin. Now, even here, they deal with some of the racism at the time. Someone calls him a derogatory name, and he is sort of like, spare me your petty racism fool, and he is here to attack the Avengers. Now, this is the Mandarin that I remember. Each ring has a different power, so it's like, I can't remember all of it, but there's 10 powers. There's like fire, ice, lasers, electricity. There's also like a black light, etc. Um, and here he's confronted by a cop, and he roasts the cop. It's pretty brutal. And then these other cops are like, what the heck? And they start firing on him, and he destroys all those guys too. Fairly violent stuff. This was normal for Marvel Comics at this time. I know people always talk about the comics code, etc. I don't know if this is even. Yeah, it is. It is governed by the comics code, but like a lot of the stuff was very violent and brutal, and it just seemed like no one really cared anymore. And here the other villains of the Acts of Vengeance are looking on, and Doctor Doom's like, oh, this idiot, like, I can't believe he was an Iron Man villain for so long. Here's the mastermind of Acts of Vengeance. I don't know if this was supposed to be much of a secret, but that is supposed to be Loki. Towards the end of Acts of Vengeance, when everything is foiled, he then turns into the Loki we know, with the big horns and everything, and he creates something called a Tri-Sentinel to fight Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, actually, I think it's supposed to destroy the world or something, and Spider-Man has the Captain Universe powers at the time and uses the last of them to destroy that thing. And that's much later. And here, Doctor Doom and Red Skull disagree on something, so they have a fight. That's pretty cool. So you get Doctor Doom versus Red Skull. At this point, Red Skull is a robot, but I don't think we're supposed to know that at this point. I think that's revealed later. They always had these robot, like, I'm really a robot. That's a Marvel science thing. Bionic Commando, I had this game as a kid, and I beat it. I think I mentioned this in another video. I beat it, and honest to God, I don't think I'll ever be able to beat it again. I don't even know how I did it. It's like, when you're a kid and you play something over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah, it's an awesome game, though. It's pretty cool. It's Capcom, so it's got to be good. And here, Wilson Fisk comes in, and he's like, what the hell's going on here? And then he starts insulting everyone, of course. And I love, like, in this comic you get, like, different tech and stuff. So here, Wonderman and Captain America are undersea investigating the ruins of one of their bases. And this is the Wonder Man I remember, with the black and the red W. I know in the early '80s, around there in late '70s, he had this weird, like, Hugh Hefner housecoat thing. I didn't like that very much. I like this a lot. He looks more iconic in this outfit. And I think this is what made it to the Saban cartoon of the early 2000s. And here Jarvis is like, what the hell's going on? Get back here. Like, Mandarin's destroying everything. So now they have to go back topside and team up with Vision to get back and confront this guy. Meanwhile, for no reason, Wizard's flying around. And I liked Wizard a lot. I liked his armor and everything. It's really cool. And anyone who can fly around and fire, like, blasts from his fists is pretty neat. And so here you get, like, Wizard versus Wonder Man. And here's an example of a video game company making peripherals on their own to cash in on the whole Nintendo craze. Acclaim's double player like controllers for NES, I'm assuming. And here, Wizard's pretty neat. Here he defeats Vision and Wonder Man, which is crazy. So here he uses some sort of, like, the way Vision describes as Wonder Gloves, and he punches right through Vision and nullifies his phasing like power. And here's a side interlude with Wanda. So I guess now Wanda, like Scarlet Witch, is very famous because of not just the movies, but also WandaVision. Here's Agatha Harkness. So Agatha Harkness was not always some sort of, like, Machiavellian villain. Here she's trying to figure out what to do with a catatonic Wanda. So at this point, Wanda was married to Vision. And all this might be familiar to you because of WandaVision. They've used elements of this, but it's not exactly this story. So Wanda was married to Vision. Vision was dismantled and then put back, but all his memories weren't restored. So that's why he looks like this, because he doesn't have his old personality. And you kind of saw that in the WandaVision show, where the version of Vision that was assembled without his personality is all white. He doesn't have any experience to decorate himself in any sort of way. Also, Wanda had 2 children that were a figment of her imagination that she believed were real, and then when she realized that shocked her. That's kind of what happened, I think, maybe, in WandaVision. And also, her mind was taken away from her. So that's another problem as well. So here she's catatonic and everything, and Agatha and her cat are investigating, like, vibrations in the house. But then the house floats away, and it's revealed to be Magneto. At this point in the comics, Magneto is supposed to be Wanda's father, and I think that's since been changed. this already was retconned from the original version where it was Wizard and some other character from another company that Marvel had acquired. So yeah, I mean, this whole thing's happening. Wanda does have a lot of interesting history and stuff, and they have drawn from it for the MCU, which I think is pretty neat. A lot of other movie companies probably wouldn't do that with their characters, but they did a deep dive on this character in WandaVision. And here you've got like Capcom showing off their Mega Man 2 is widely seen as one of the best Mega Man games, and probably the game that really launched the Mega Man franchise, not one. Um, and here's Strider, the NES version, not exactly the arcade one, but it was still cool. And here you have Black Widow and Hellcat. They're coming to aid the Avengers as well. And Mandarin blasts the ship that Captain America's in, and he really actually thinks he's going to kill Captain America. Like, he'll be the one. And of course, like Black Widow gets in the way in Hellcat. And it's funny, he starts deriding them for being women. He's a big sexist pig in this, and and he's defeated by them. But then Captain America throws his shield at him, and here's a TSR game. The color in this has been fading. A lot of the paper they were using at the time, the color faded pretty quickly. This is like late 80s, very early 90s in Marvel Comics. And here, Wizard defeated like Vision and Wonderman, so he's a pretty formidable foe. I would like to see them do something with him in like movies and television. This costume might look stupid, but I think it's really neat. It's just basically armor, really, so that would be awesome. And of course, we haven't heard from one guy. Just when all seems dire, here comes Thor throwing his hammer at Mandarin, and here he is. And Captain America got hit by an ice blast from Mandarin. And here's all the Avengers, and Thor's the one that says Avengers Assemble. And so Mandarin hits them with this. I called it a blacklight before. It's like it's just darkness, basically. It's a darkness beam where you can't see anything in front of you. And he makes his escape, but they capture Wizard. And then they interrogate him. And it's revealed, well, I mean, this was supposed to be the thing of Acts of Vengeance, that Loki made it so that every villain who was behind it thought they were the mastermind of it, but they're not. It's really Loki. And so he's like, I'm the mastermind of all this madness going on and stuff, with like villains suddenly attacking that you wouldn't normally fight. And here's Loki's like, I'm the real mastermind and whatnot. Here's Stan's soapbox. He's saying goodbye to Archie Goodwin, who was, I think, editor-in-chief of the Epic magazines, and so he's stepping down. And here's some items, basically saying that there was some sort of awards ceremony, and I think like Chris Claremont, no surprise, was voted by fans as like favorite writer, of course, at that time. There's a whole bunch of like collectibles you can like order out for. I had said this in something else. This is a time when comic book stores, etc., would advertise in comic books, and you can like mail away for some of their stock. You don't really see that anymore, probably because the internet. And here there's more fighting among everyone, and then Doctor Doom explodes, revealing that he was always a robot. That's always the thing with Doctor Doom. It's always a robot. And here, this is an ad for Marvel Masterworks. So at the time, Marvel Masterworks was a brand new concept where Marvel would take the first 10 issues of their greatest comics and put them in a nice hardbound thing with nice glossy paper. And I had the first one, which was the Amazing Fantasy 15, and then Amazing Spider-Man 1 to 10. and it had a nice gold embossed like little framing of the first issue cover art, and that embossed thing had all of the characters' faces and stuff, and posing and all that around it. It was really neat. Marvel Masterworks, I remember before they did this, they had some sort of a trial thing where they had comic book just comic book reprints called Marvel Masterworks with a gray around the cover, and that gray will always smudge off into my hands. And they represented everything from that comic, including some of the ads. It was really neat. And then after that, they did this. I think this kind of thing. I mean, it ran for a good 20 years, maybe more. But I think now it's been supplanted by omnibuses, etc., which have the same nice glossy paper and everything, same great presentation, but they just reprint almost everything. And here's a Christmas savings for like a whole bunch of comic subscriptions and everything. GI Joe's still around. Grew. Um, of course, you got Avengers, Avengers Spotlight, Avengers West Coast, all the Avengers stuff. Transformers is still around. Nth Man, Marvel Tales. So in 1990, the Transformers cartoon is still chugging along as just repackaged reruns, and GI Joe is refreshed with a DIC series that no one liked at the time, and now it's like fondly sort of remembered as having the toys at the time. I had a lot of Nth Man, uh, and you got Quasar. I had a lot of Quasar too. And you've got these magazines, Nightmare on Elm Street. I'll probably do something about that because I found that in my collection the other day, um, and a whole bunch of other great stuff. They know their audience. They know their pubescent teens that are going through puberty. So and getting acne and everything. So here's double clear cell commercial. I remember a lot of these around this time. And here's an ad for TurboGrafx 16, which cool little system, didn't have a great amount of licensed games that were exciting or anything. Um, but I mean, they tried. Nowadays, it's fondly remembered, and there's some great shooters, etc. On that system. And that's a little stroll down memory lane for Avengers 313. Thanks.